Welcome folks, my name is Dave Isaacs, and welcome to Blues Road Trip. This course is a great second step for the beginner or near beginner who's already been through some fundamentals and wants to be able to take a step into a more specific musical direction. So we're going to build on things that you might have learned either in my beginner course perhaps, or in any situation involving basic open chords and strumming and single note playing simply, and developing this specifically in the direction of the skill set and sounds that you need to play the blues. You don't have to be an experienced lead player. You don't have to have any experience with playing lead, really. This will be a great introduction to getting your fingers on the neck to start creating the sounds that, if you're a fan of the blues, I know that you've been wanting to hear. So this course is a road trip because, like the blues, we're going to travel from one place to another, from its birthplace in the Mississippi Delta up the river to Memphis and Chicago, west to Texas, south to New Orleans, and even across the ocean to the sound of British blues in the 1960s. And we're talking about regional differences, but most of all we're talking about essentially subgenres of blues, but even more than that, rhythmic feels, vibes, tones. How does a shuffle from one place sound different from a shuffle from another? Can we distinguish between a Chicago shuffle and a Texas shuffle? And what actually makes the difference, and why does it matter to you? The idea is that over the course of this series, we're going to touch on a whole variety of foundational grooves, chords, sounds, and basic licks that will allow you to really branch out in any specific direction you choose from there. To get the most out of this course, you should have had some beginner experience. That means that you've got a basic vocabulary of open chords, that you've begun to start working with bar chords, and that you've got some experience playing single notes. Does not mean that you need to have lots of experience playing scales. If you've never bent strings before, we're approaching this in this course as if it's something that's new to you. So basically, fundamentals of getting your hands on the neck, being able to play some chords, being able to play some notes in sequence. If you have been able to complete my beginner series, then you are exactly where you need to be. And I would say, in general, if you have gone through a level 1 course of any kind, you probably have the foundations that you need to move ahead from here. I want to stress something important, which is that you may have an idea in your head of what blues guitar sounds like and what it means to you. And maybe that means B.B. King, maybe it means Stevie Ray Vaughan, maybe it means Joe Bonamassa. It doesn't really matter. But in any of those cases, if you are thinking primarily about lead guitar and licks, then it's important that you recognize that blues is groove music, is body music, is rhythm music, is feel music. And so much of this course is about learning to play with the right feel, being able to fit into a pocket, to create that rhythm, that sensation of when the blues is cooking, it hits you in a place that nothing else will hit you the same, and it all has to do with how you feel it in here. So most of all, that needs to be first and foremost in your mind. You're going to hear me talk a lot about rhythm and how we internalize it and work with it. But we will, of course, get into some of the lead licks that you are absolutely, I know, hungry to learn. By the time you've completed this course, you should have a comfortable vocabulary of 12-bar blues patterns and forms in multiple keys, meaning that you can comfortably play a blues in C, a blues in G, a blues in A, a blues in D, a blues in E, basically our primary guitar keys. You'll know the chords that we need to use. You want to be familiar enough with blues structure and blues form that learning a new song is relatively straightforward as long as you understand what your primary chords are, and then it's just a matter of the patterns and the licks. So we are going to cover forms in our primary guitar keys of C, G, D, A, and E. You'll have a variety of chord voicings that you can use in each of these, moving up and down the neck, some of them in the open position, some of them using bar chords, and some of them as other, probably less familiar forms that are derived from bar chords. We're also going to touch on riff patterns and pentatonic scales to some degree, in the sense that we're using those pentatonics to illustrate how one plays blues melodies. I've really had a lot of fun putting this course together because I've been a blues fan my whole musical life, but to tell you the truth, I'd never done a deep dive into the difference between the sound of Chicago and the sound of Texas. And so it's been tremendous fun to go and do lots of listening just to soak up, not to learn a particular tune, but to get the vibe of chess records in Chicago in the 1950s, to get the vibe of Austin in the 1980s, to get the vibe of the Mississippi Delta in 1940. It's all part of this big picture of what we call blues music, and the truth is, it's a world you have to inhabit. And if the best we can do is visit on a road trip like this, well then I have to tell you, it's been a lot of fun for me to travel around and soak up everything that I can, and I'm excited to share it all with you. You ready? So squeeze yourself into the back seat of that '69 Cadillac and let's go for a ride.